Hello again and welcome to World Talks. This is the place where every word matters. I'm Anna Kalczynska. Today will mark the 74th day of pro-EU and anti-government protests in Georgia, as the political crisis shows no sign of abating. Public determination is clashing with the continued brutality of law enforcement, and we saw again during the last days of protests. Can the protest community count on more support from the West, European Union or the US for that matter? Or how else can the situation evolve? We're joined now by Wojciech Wojtasiewicz, analyst at the Polish Institute of International Affairs. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for the invitation.
So, the basic question is, which direction Georgia is going to head? We see the situation has no signs of stopping. The protests continue, but certain fatigue is also there.
Unfortunately, Georgia, in my opinion, towards in the authoritarian direction and anti-Western direction. Unfortunately, de facto Georgian Dream government is not willing to change their position. They do not want to make any step back. Contrary, they are proposing a new laws which tighten the situation regarding manifestation. You mentioned that already 74th day of the constant demonstration against the Georgian Dream government take place in Georgia, and the government, the ruling party, is doing everything to stop the Georgian appearing on the streets of Tbilisi and the other Georgian cities. And unfortunately, any influences and impacts of the European Union, of the United States did not bring any positive results. And in my opinion, Georgia is going in the towards of kind of Belarusization of the political system.
Well, how come the help of EU or the US specifically has not been able to contribute to a real change? We know now that the US aid has been somehow counted, so the aid given to the former Soviet Republic of Georgia was around $2 billion over the 3 decades. So where did the money go to?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, United States was the biggest contributor of that kind of aid for Georgia, not only during the Georgian Dreams rule, but also during the presidency of Mikhail Saakashvili and Eduard Shevardnadze. And those money went to enhancing for example, public administration, reforms of army, different sectors of the state. But the last year, after passing the so-called foreign agents law in Georgia, United States, on July last year, decided to stop all those money. It was about $94 million. And also the European Union decided to stop 121 million euros, but the European Union underlined that those money will go to the civil society, to the NGOs and the free media. But unfortunately, there is still no decision how much of that amount will be delivered to the civil society, and also would it be possible to use that money to pay kind of penalties, because according to the foreign agents law, all the NGOs were forced to register, but most of them did not do it, because they are absolutely against that regulation, and now they are waiting for kind of penalties, financial one. It will be about, if I'm not wrong, 25,000 lari, so it's about 40,000 zloty. So it's a huge amount of money also for Polish NGOs, but especially for Georgian. It could stop their activities. So yes, that situation is really difficult.
So the Georgia's government has welcomed the U.S. move to shut down the U.S. aid, saying that the agency had supported revolution in Georgia.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Georgian government are constantly accusing the West, so-called global war party, deep state, etc., conspiracy theories that they are trying to change the government in Georgia, and that narrative is absolutely similar or even almost the same like the Russian one. So before the last fall parliamentary elections, Georgian government was constantly accusing the opposition and the West to organize the coup d'état, a new color revolution in Georgia, and in their opinion, it was against the will of the Georgian nation. But all of us we know that the elections which took place several months ago, there was plenty of irregularities. So that's why the opposition did not see the current parliament as a legitimate.
On the other hand, is this curbing of financement or even stopping it totally a good solution? What else can the international community, the Western community, do for Georgia? And if so, isn't it too late?
I mean, put sanctions, and already United States decided to put the personal sanctions on Bidzina Ivanishvili, the real leader of the ruling Georgian Dream Party, and they also stopped the strategic cooperation with Georgia. But unfortunately, on behalf of the European Union, the situation is much more complicated. There was also discussions about the personal sanctions against Georgia, but unfortunately, Hungary and Slovakia were against.
Exactly, I remember this situation, but I remember also our Prime Minister for Foreign Affairs, Radosław Sikorski, who said that another solution could be forged, like separate individual member states could impose their sanctions on individuals in the Georgian Dream Party.
It has already been done. I mean, Baltic states decided to impose the personal sanctions on Bidzina Ivanishvili, but not only him. Also the other leaders of Georgian Dream. I mean, the employees of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, some diplomats, judges, because all of them, they are engaged in the process of persecution of the society, because those demonstrations are quite difficult, because people are being arrested, they are sent to the prison, and now, as I mentioned, the Georgian Dream is pushing amendments to, for example, a law on manifestation and demonstrations, and it's highly probable that the people will be sent to the prison for even several years of imprisonment. It's also worth mentioning that one of the leading Georgian journalists, Mizia Amagloveli, she was arrested a month ago in Batumi, and now she's on hunger strike. It's 29th day of the hunger strike already.
So lately we've seen the stripping of the opposition parliamentarians of their mandates in the parliament. So basically Georgia is heading towards a one-party system. How do you expect the situation to evolve? Can this deadlock escalate even further?
I mean, on the behalf of the opposition, there's also a problem, the lack of the leader. I mean, the opposition consists of, let's say, 4 coalitions or political parties with plenty of leaders which are not really...
So the opposition doesn't have a face?
Yes, I mean, maybe not...
One face.
Not like this, but there are plenty of the leaders who are not really popular. I mean, in my opinion, the only leader is Salome Zarabishvili, who claims that she's still president. I mean, her term officially ended at the end of December last year.
Okay, so she was the one to sanction, basically, the political system, in the sense that the parliament has to elect the president, right? So now, what is her plan? Does she has one?
Yes, she announced like more than a month ago that she stays like a president of Georgia, the one and the only legitimate representative of the Georgian nation, Georgian society, and she promised to fight to the end, and her aim is to announce a new parliamentary elections, and she also promised to travel around the country to meet with the ordinary Georgians, but also with the different groups of societies like businessmen, the people of culture, and so on, and also to put the issue of Georgia, of that rigged, in her opinion, parliamentary elections around the world. She was invited by a chairman of the Helsinki Commission of the American Congress, Joe Wilson, to US for the inauguration of Donald Trump. And she had an occasion to discuss the Georgian issue with the new member of the American administration. She was also invited by French President Emmanuel Macron to Paris. So she's traveling around the world. But in my opinion, it would be necessary by the European Union and the United States to announce openly that she is the only legitimate representative of the Georgian nation, because in my opinion it's really difficult to expect that the Georgian Dream government will change their position soon.
Even in this respect, we can see some similarities with Belarus, right? It's almost Zrabišvili, Tikhanovskaya, two representatives of nations claiming that they do represent legally the power of the nation. But actually, Salome Zrabišvili is not in power. And in spite of having all those meetings, probably she cannot do much for the election taking real place, right?
I mean, she's kind of symbol of fighting of the Georgian nation, but we also have to remember that it's not like this, that the Georgian Dream does not have any support among Georgians.
Exactly.
I mean,
so the situation is complicated.
It is complicated. I think they still have support about 30% of the people, and of course some of the people are scared, to participate in those demonstrations, because most of Georgian work in the public sector.
So what is a perspective of really having elections? For instance, do you see such a possibility that the Georgian Dream Party announces earlier elections
in the short-term perspective? I do not see such kind of chances. I think it should be put a huge pressure by the European Union, United States, sanctions, especially economic and personal one, which influence on the financial situation of Georgia, but also of personal financial situation of Bidzina Ivanishvili and his political camps. But of course, it takes time. I mean, sanctions will not work immediately, very soon, very quickly, and we can even observe the case of Belarus. I mean, European Union and the other countries decided to put those sanctions after 2020 presidential elections, and Lukashenko is still in power. So we shouldn't expect that the results of that sanctions will come very, very quickly.
Thank you very much for coming and sharing your insight with us.
Thank you very much.
It was Wojciech Wojtasiewicz, analyst from the Polish Institute of International Affairs. And thank you for watching World Talks. That concludes this edition, but please stay tuned to TVP World. We're coming back in a minute.